Okay guys, this is a video on how to install your Dashtop multi-mount or DMM. First thing we're going to do is the unboxing of your DMM, and you will get something like this. You're going to get a decently wrapped piece like this, and this is going to be your top plate. Okay, here you go. That's what it looks like. You can set that aside for now. Get a little bag with all your pieces and just take those out. Gonna get your 8 screws. These will hold each one of the bottom plates. Let's go ahead and take those out. You have 8 nuts and 8 lock washers. I sometimes throw in some extra ones just in case. This is your 1-inch ball mount and the bottom plates. The bottom plates will come with 2 screws that I will show you what you need them for in a little bit. Now that we've unpacked everything, we're going to go ahead and set everything to the side, and we're going to start the installation. First thing you're going to need is your top plate. You're going to grab your trim piece. There's a separate video on how to remove this, and you're going to set that right there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you get it close enough, you're good. So now you clamp it. I am going to use this kind of clamps. These are called Clico clamps. I know they're not the most common tool. Any kind of clamp will work. I like these. I happen to have them because we use them at work. And I'm going to clamp where there is no holes so that I can drill everything at the same time. You don't have to. You can cover up some holes and just move the clamps later, but make sure everything stays in the same place when you move the clamps. Now I'm going to use 5 clamps. The more you use, obviously, the better. You make sure nothing moves. But you don't have to, as long as you're careful. Okay, now, so you can see I haven't covered up any of the holes, which means I can drill all of them without moving the clamps. To drill the holes, I'm going to use a number 10 drill bit. There's other sizes that will work, but if you can, just get a number 10 drill bit. It'll be the best fit. Got my drill motor, and this is pretty easy. The drill bit will go through metal, so going through plastic is a piece of cake. You don't have to go fast. All you do, it's real quick and easy. So I've done one hole that you can see right there. You don't have to drill all of them. You can drill the holes that you know you're going to use, or you can drill them all at one time. At the very least, you have to drill all the countersunk holes, and those are going to be the ones with the beveled edge. Those are the ones we're going to use to install the bottom plate, so you at least need those. The other ones, you can skip 1 or 2 and just drill whichever holes you want to mount your accessories on. Okay. Now that we have everything drilled up, it's time to install the bottom plates. and it's a good idea to take it off and clean up the plastic underneath. There's burrs there that might cause a little gap between the plates. You don't want that. It's not really gonna do too much harm, but you still want to clean it up. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's little burrs on every hole, so I'm gonna clean that up. Now we're going to install the bottom plates. To do that, grab your top plate, line it back up, then you grab one of the bottom plates, and I'm going to do one of the center ones because you can get a better view of it. You slide that in there, and you use the 2 extra screws that I've given you to line it up. So you put them in the center holes. These holes are going to be what you use to mount accessories to. So throw that in there, screw it into the bottom plate. And this will ensure that your holes line up all the way through. This ensures that when you tighten the corners up, these two are still going to line up, so you can install anything without having to take this off again. Now you install these little guys. These are going to be your anchors for the bottom plate. So just throw those in there. Now you know everything lines up. Now we're going to tighten it down, and the first thing we do is use these lock washers. So one goes in the very corner, and you got your nut. You run that down, and for this version of the DMM you have self-clinching studs, meaning once you start tightening these nuts, the studs, or these two sides, are going to tighten on their own. You don't need to hold it with a screwdriver or an Allen wrench like before. All you got to do, and I'm going to show you, I'm not holding anything, start running these down, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. These studs have teeth on the bottom of the head that will hold onto the metal pretty tight. So see, that's already getting tight. I never held that with my hands. You do the same thing for the other side, and you run it down by hand, obviously, at first. It's a little tight right there, but you want to make sure those are tight. And if you look at the top, if you go too tight, you'll see the head of the stud start to sink in. It's not a problem, but if you're already at that point, then you're tight enough. And you can kind of see it on this one. It's probably too hard to see on video, but I'm going to try and show you anyway. You can see it's concave a little bit. Anyway, that means those are tight. And once they're tight, you can take these off, and now you know anything you want to install will line up. I'm going to use this last little section to show you some of the problems that you might run into and how to fix them. One of the first things you might encounter is that somehow your clamps moved, or you didn't drill straight or whatnot. So this screw might not go in. Well, this one does, but yours might be tight, or it might not line up. If that happens, you can just re-drill this hole to make sure the plastic and the top plate line up. Same thing goes for the sides. If they don't seem to line up, you can run your drill bit again through the hole, and that should enlarge the hole in the plastic enough for the screws to go in. Another thing that you might run into, and this is happening on this one, I'll show you, it's that the anchor studs or screws are too close to these tabs. So if that happens, you're gonna have a hard time running that nut down. What you want to do, and I say if that happens because it can be different if depending on where you positioned this, and most of the time it'll be the same. But see, that one is close, but you can run the nut down no problem. But this one right here, you won't be able to, or I won't be able to. So if this happens to you, that one's too close. So you're gonna have a hard time spinning that nut. If you run into this problem, the easiest thing to do is just cut the tab down a little bit. You can do that with a knife like I'm doing it here. Just cutting a notch into it. But you can use a file or a Dremel drill bit also. I mean, all you want to do is make sure this tab has a notch on it, and I'll show you what it looks like in a little bit. So that'll let you run the nut down a lot better now. Now that we've cut that notch, we're going to go ahead and finish the installation. So same thing as for the other ones, you just put your lock washer in there, regular nut on top of it, run it as far down as you can with your fingers. Same goes for the other side, and then you tighten them down. Again, these are self-clinching studs. You don't need to hold them with an Allen wrench or a screwdriver or anything. You just got to run the nut down. You might have to hold it down a little bit with your finger at first, but after the first couple turns, it'll hold itself. Once you have everything tight, you should be done. You might want to try it out with the screw just to see that it runs down all the way. And as you can see, that one's good. So we back it out, test the other ones. That one, it went all the way through. And this is just to make sure everything is good before you put it back in your truck. It's better to find out now if something doesn't line up than to find out later when you want to install something and then have to pull this off again. Okay. In this case, they all seem to work fine. That's it. You've installed your DMM. Now you can put this back in your truck. That's it. You've now installed your DMM. Now you can throw it back in your taco. Now bolting the accessories, or most commonly the 1-inch ball mount, there's no science to it, but I'm going to show you anyway. You got one bushing like this, screw, and the ball mount. Obviously the hole on the ball mount is larger than the screws that fit in the DMM. So put the bushing and the screw and the screw in the ball, and you tighten it down. Now you just put the ball in whatever spot you're going to use it the most. I usually use it in this first one because it's the closest to the driver's side. So just line it up, run it down. The bushing will center the screw on the ball. Once you run it all the way down, you want to make sure they're tight, really tight. Don't break it. I've never broken one. It's pretty hard, but you do want to make sure it's tight. Now you're ready to attach anything to it.